Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond Product podcast. My name is Moshe Mikanovsky, and I'm your host. I'm excited about our next few episodes. We are again at DMZ, one of the leading tech incubators in the world, and part of Toronto Metropolitan University. Since Root Quotient is now a partner in residence at DMZ, we wanted to highlight some of the founders and startups that are part of this great organization. So for the next few episodes, we're going to do just that, talk with founders that are incubated over here. My guest today is Victor Salinas, CEO and founder of SmartConcil. SmartConcil is a platform that helps finance teams consolidate, analyze, and identify inconsistencies in financial data through automated reconciliation. With 100% traceability for the reconciliation process, an 83% reduction in reconciliation time on average, SmartConcil simplifies financial decision making, allowing their clients to say goodbye to manual, error-prone processes and focus on what really matters, growing their business with control. Welcome to the podcast, Victor.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Really nice having you over here. And I'm excited to talk to you about SmartConcil, about yourself. So tell us first about yourself to start with.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I started a company 6 years ago. I usually been working in the financial industry for the last 20 years. And I remember one of our customers required us to build something to control cash flow. And because we have a lot of experience with data, and so we thought that it would be a good idea to put a lot of things together and create something that what is today is SmartConcil.
Mm-hmm. So what does SmartConcil is doing, or where is it right now? What have you built so far?
Well, that's been a long journey because I started a company previous pandemic, and then we had to survive during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, improvise, and then we have to adapt to different situations. At the beginning, we were trying to sell the software directly to financial institutions. Then we have to stop that because COVID came, and then we have to go into virtual mode. So we have to basically do re-engineering of the whole strategy that we have in order to sell our software. So we start having more remote meetings. The marketing changed a lot. So I basically have to change the company from the beginning, and that helped us to start having a different strategy in sales. Right now we have offices in 3 countries: Canada, Mexico, and Colombia, and our customers are basically in 6 countries. So we've been having the opportunity to know and to sell the software to customers that we never seen before in person, right? So everything is remote. So I think that the reason that COVID accelerated that one, it's really helping us right now to think more like a global company.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this is the problem specifically is related to financial information and transactions, and those are all done these days electronically anyway. So it
Exactly.
doesn't really matter where you are; you can still apply the same methods. Hopefully, I want to dive into that a bit as well. But you can still apply some methods through your platform that will help this conciliation.
Well, one thing that we understand in the market is that it doesn't matter in which country you are, the way to process data is the same, right? They have bank accounts, accounting software, payment gateways, different kind of information that are part of the operation. And the problem is that because all this data is not standardized, most of the time customer need to modify the data in order to find inconsistencies, and there's a lot of risk in that process. So we started working with financial institutions, then we have the opportunity to work with the insurance companies, and now we are also working with retailers. So 3 different industries, but they have the same problem: a lot of data to manage, and it's complicated because the way that, for example, retail operates before and after COVID is different, right? There's a lot of companies now they are selling on cloud, and they are using a lot of payment providers. Let's think about like a restaurant, for example. Before COVID, you have to go to the place and buy your food and pay there. But now they have a lot of these platform where you can order food online. So there's a lot of restaurants selling through these platforms, and they need to reconcile all of them.
So let's talk a bit about reconciliation. Because,
Yes.
I have a bit of background because I was a CTO of a startup that was dealing with transactions, online transactions. And back then I didn't know anything about reconciliation. And our CFO was like, oh, we have to reconcile all this information. I'm like, what does that mean? I had to learn the hard way that when you see transactions, it's not one-to-one. And you need to balance your books, so everything needs to be balanced. And at the end of the day, you're getting money in and out from all different places. And when you're adding, just like what you said about third parties that you can buy through, the clients, correct me if I'm wrong there, but their clients will buy one by one. They will process credit cards, different payment options, but then they will pay the full amount of transactions minus fees and stuff like that to the provider. And then you have to somehow reconcile between different numbers that have to balance at the end of the day. Is that a good explanation of that?
Yeah, well, this is one of the different type of reconciliation that we can do today, right? Because like you said, when you are using third parties, you're not going to receive the money right away in your bank account.
That's
right?
true.
So you're going to, as a restaurant, you're going to receive all the payments. You have your system to understand, to see how many transactions you have. But then the payment gateway is going to transfer the money into your bank account, I don't know, a week later, 3-4 days after that.
Right.
And then you need to make sure that the money that you are receiving in the bank account, it's according to the sales that you have in that specific period of time, right? But the same happens, for example, if we are, I don't know, selling products and you have invoices and the client is paying, I don't know, overseas. So we have, right now we have many different ways to receive payment overseas. So you can use, I don't know, PayPal, Stripe, wire transfer, credit card, debit card. So you might have, as a company, you have like at least 5 different ways to receive payments. The problem is that each one of them are not interconnected. So you need to like check data from different sources. You need to go to your bank accounts and see how much money do you have, and then you need to see your accounting and see what is going on. And then basically reconciliation is making sure that you don't have inconsistencies in the information that you are having in your bank account versus your accounting data, right?
Right. Okay, great. So this was always an issue, but the more providers in ecosystems, the more complex it becomes these days. On one hand, on the other hand, all the data should be somewhere because it's all electronic anyway. The question is how to get our hands on all this data and how to make sure everything is flowing properly and reconciled. So how does SmartConcil help with that?
Well, I think the application evolves understanding that there is no a single way to do reconciliation for the company. We have, for example, customers that they are using the same accounting software, but the way that they are feeding data into the systems are different, right? So if you're a retailer using SAP and then you are insurance company using exactly SAP, the data that you are putting in those systems are different. The way that they are receiving payments are different. Sometimes, I don't know, if you, for a policy, you have a specific amount of days to pay your policy, and then you can pay whatever you want. You can pay, tapping your credit card, transferring money in cash, whatever. So I think the major differentiator that we have with our customers is that we understand how really the data works for them, right? The SmartConcil is not just a tool that they are using for the reconciliation automation. It's also something that is helping them to understand the data, which is the big, I would say, like benefit that they can get from our software. So we have like now we are working in one of the biggest retailer in North America, and I know that they have all the resources to build their own software if they want it, right? But the problem is that it's not just about the technical aspect of the product; it's also that you understand the data. Because at the end of the day, for us, it's not just a bunch of numbers. It makes sense. Like, hey, this is financial data. This is your accounting. This is your ledger. This is your bank statement. It's supposed to work in X, Y, ways, right?
And it should also help if there is audits. So if you need to do annual audits.
Yeah. For example, well-regulated industries like financial institutions or insurance companies, they need to comply with a lot of regulation, specifically with data, right? Because sometimes these insurance companies, they are offering services in different countries, not just in one single one.
Right.
And for example, in regions like Latin America, the cash is a big thing for them. So they're dealing not just with electronic payment, but also cash.
Okay.
So this is a big problem too in places or countries where the cash has a huge, a lot of people are still using cash, right?
Yeah. So what makes SmartConcil unique in this day and age? I assume that this is a problem that exists for a while now, and probably there are different ways people are doing it. What would you say it's unique about SmartConcil that your clients are really can't have without it?
Yeah, this is a common question that we have from from our potential leads. Well, I have to say that we didn't invent the reconciliation, right? And like you said, it was there. They need to do it, and every single company they need to do it now, right? There's no way that no one is reconciling, because if not, you don't know how much money you have in your bank account.
Exactly.
I think the difference that we create in the market is that we accelerate the process, right? We help them to standardize something that is not standardized. That we help them first of all to identify what is the data that they need to reconcile. Sometimes, because of they manually modified information, you can miss a lot of details. Sometimes because the volume of transaction that they have is too much, they don't have the possibility to reconcile one by one. They have to go in total, right? They summarize the whole. I don't know. Imagine a retail that is having I don't know, a million transactions per day. It's kind of crazy for someone to just like put in an Excel spreadsheet and start like summarizing all the transaction, check one by one. That's crazy. So they don't have enough time. Sometimes, for example, one of our customers, they decide to do reconciliations per week because daily it was crazy, because the staff is going to spend probably 40-60% of the time just doing that thing daily. So it's and they need to also check about the operation. So like I told you, my clients, they are experts in their product and the services that they are providing.
Right.
They are not experts in finding inconsistencies in between financial information.
And that's what you bring on
Exactly.
into the
So,
table.
so we speed the process. We help them that in less than 3 weeks they will have something up and running, and in less than 5 minutes they will know if they have everything correct or they need to check for the inconsistencies in the data.
Yeah. Amazing. So, what did you learn so far from that experience? You mentioned a bit about COVID and how it affected your progress and changes and stuff like that. But from building the product itself, some core learning that you had?
Well, yes. Well, my background, I'm system engineer, so I've been basically developing software all my life. And I remember that at the beginning, as of any engineer, I think, we just want to build things, right?
Yes.
We don't care if someone is gonna like buy it.
It's fun to build, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you have something in your mind, and what if I can make it possible, right? And I love that part of the creativity that I can imagine something and then I just can build it, right?
Yeah.
But I think the second biggest problem is how to sell it. Right, and this is probably something that I've been learning during these I would say last 6 years, because before that the company was more like a tailor-made solutions. Like we were like building solutions for the financial institutions. So we are not really having a product to sell. So when we decided to start working with SmartConcil, I made a decision that probably I'm going to use all this experience for one single product. And we will try to put everything that we always like dream in this kind of application, but it's going to be something that is going to help any kind of company, not just in a specific financial institution or a retailer or insurance company. So I think that was the big difference in from the product perspective. We start building something that can help different industries, different companies, instead of being only for a specific I don't know, request or requirement from a customer.
Okay, so not a bespoke product for one at a time, but make it more generic, more generalized, and productize it, so you can actually create more value to more people.
And makes more simple to sell it, right? Because if not,
Hopefully,
you were
yes.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Because if not, you're gonna basically build in a specific product for each customer.
Yes.
And that is gonna cost a lot of money, and it's gonna be more complicated.
I remember also when I was in my engineering days, I measure my time and my value by as many users that were able to use the same product. So the more people that use the piece of code that you wrote, the more valuable your piece of code,
Of
right?
course.
So that's a great learning. And we mentioned we're a DMZ, and you're incubated over here. How does DMZ helping you in that in that process?
Well, I think in the whole journey that we've been like since the beginning, we've been part of different programs, right? And I think each of them help us for a specific part in the long journey. I think with DMC, the exposure is something that is really helping us just to be in another level, right? Because now we are a revenue company, we are getting revenue, we have customers, we have medium sized, big customers, but then we need to get into the next level, right? It's different if you are going along to knock in the door to a company that, hey, I have this software, plus having an accelerator behind your back and say, hey, we already bet for this company, we know that this is a trusted company, you can trust in those guys. So that's I think that's the big a jump that we've been having with the MC. So every single time that we have to pitch or we have to talk with an investor, we always mention, hey, we are part of the MC. That's is giving us a value for the company, right?
Yeah, DMZ does have a great network all over the world, actually, not just in Toronto. And it's been a great anchor here in Toronto for the ecosystem. So I can definitely see that. And I always love to hear also from the founders about their own journey as a founder, because that's a journey on its own. Other than the product itself, etc.
Yes.
Tell me something like one big thing about your journey as a founder.
Well, and in the personal part of my life, I was growing the company, but at the same time, I was migrating from Mexico to Canada, and I have two kids and a wife. And then also the pandemic, it was a very challenging part of the journey, right? Because I have to deal not just to find a way to pay the bills, but also to pay the bills at home and also keep my mind like busy and for my kids and my wife. So it's been a learning process in terms of resilience, right? I started doing yoga during COVID because I need to focus my mind in something that more like productive than just thinking about the problems. And I think resilience is something that I learned a lot in this curve. Now that the company is going well, and now that my kids are like already adapted into this new culture, it's giving me more time to do other things that I didn't have before. Before these last 5 years, I was just focused on the company 100% of the time. I didn't have even a time to do something by my own, something that I like to do as a hobby. And now I think that even that this is the most, I would say, busy part of my life with the company because we are growing and we are expanding. I also I find time for me, find time for my family. So I think that's something that I really like, especially in this part of my life.
So resilience and balance.
Resilience and
And
balance.
balance, yeah, really important. And here in Toronto, we have so many, where most of us are immigrants, I think, and we have a lot of those stories. And so it's always
Yes.
good to hear from others how they gone through that, but also that you came on the other side with that strength, which really is helpful in even in the growth. I'm sure there are challenges, and there are always things that you need to be resilient with.
Yeah, and I think it's important that if you find a balance between your personal life and the work, you understand that even that you make mistakes and you fail in a company, this is not the whole of you, right? You are more than the company, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you are stuck in this process as a founder, there's some part in the process that where you really think that you are a mess, that you are not doing good things, that you are wrong, you are not, you're not good developer or sales, whatever, right? So I think when you find this balance, you understand that it doesn't matter. You're gonna do your best for the company, but it doesn't matter if you are success or not. That doesn't define you. You have more. There's more thing for you in the personal and professional than just the company. And I think when I understand that, it really helps me to have a different perspective. So now when I have a problem to fix,
Yeah.
I know that this is another problem to fix. So
Yeah.
I'm a problem solver, right?
Yes, amazing. I want to try something new with this series, something we have never done before on the podcast. And this is to talk with our guest about some product challenge that you might have. And then to workshop it a bit on the podcast and see what happens, right? So do you want to share with me some challenge that you might have, and let's open it up and talk about it a bit?
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned before one of the biggest problems that we had at the beginning is we were building the platform with an idea to for a specific problem for a customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then converting this in something that can be sellable in other companies with different perspective. That was the greatest like challenge that I've been like facing in my professional career, but also the most like grateful part in myself, because like you said, now it's incredible for me that something that I was in my mind, and I know I stuck in my backyard with my friends, like coding. Now someone is paying a lot of money to use it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, that's something that was in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think understanding that I have to build something that can be useful for more than one customer without me modifying anything, that was probably the most challenging part, because that involves not just the technology that you're planning to use. It's also the architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the application is being considered, what kind of problems you're gonna fix.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the beginning we wanted to put a lot of features, right? Like a lot of things.
Yeah.
The user can do this, and that, and then you realize that probably they don't need all these things.
Mm-hmm.
They just need like a few things.
Yeah.
But if it works, you're gonna save their life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think understanding that part of the product development, and the understanding that I can have a lot of things in my mind, but I think the most important part is what the user really wants from our platform. I
Mm-hmm.
think this is the hardest part for me, especially as an engineer, because
Yes.
I always want to build the latest technology in the
Yes.
market. I want to add these things, and it's like, for example, AI, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I know that there's a lot of companies adding AI in your product, but I'm still trying to see how AI fits in our
Yeah.
and customer base, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just to start adding something because other people are doing
Yeah.
it. So that's the big challenge.
Okay. So let's talk about it a bit, because there you touched on a lot of points over there. So let's try to unpack it a bit. Part of it, I would say, is the segmentation. So who really are the users? Who really are the clients? And this is a B2B product, so there is always people that buy it, and then they don't necessarily use it. And then you have the users that actually use it. And then what is the problem that you're solving to them? And like you said, you can solve big problems or you can solve very, very specific problems. Now, I would assume also, and you touched a bit on that with other systems that are using that, it could be many different type of business, different type of banks, and how the banks are getting the information to you, cash versus not cash, different payment options, different ERP systems that they're already using, or finance system that they're already using. So there is a lot of players in that ecosystem. And then my thought there will be that probably one of the biggest challenges also, how can you cater to everyone if you're trying to solve the same problem to everyone? So I would start with, first of all, segmentation, seeing where is, and segmentation is also not easy, but on one end, where can we solve the problem in the best way? On the other end, where do we have the best connections in our network that we can actually get those initial clients or those expanded clients? Now, you're already in growth, so you already have those initial clients, so that's great. So you probably are now thinking about how can I grow to maybe to a new sector. Like you were saying, you already have 3 sectors that are using it, so maybe a fourth one, or etc.
For sure.
Or in a different locations. So you already mentioned you're supporting 6 countries
This
at the moment,
country, yeah.
which I would assume accounting is the same way everywhere. The rules of accounting are probably the same because it's math at the end of the day. But then you have also regulations, and you have taxes, and you have structure of systems. But you also have the products, the ecosystem that those geographics are usually using. So SAP as an ERP could be very strong in some places in the world, but there is another one in another place in the world. So that's part of it, of breaking down. So when I'm talking about segmentation, I'm always thinking about much deeper than just a type of organization or stuff like that. There is many more factors into that. And then I would think about that ecosystem they're in, because that's where you have to play in. You have to play in that ecosystem. Sometimes, and you're much more expert in reconciliation than I do. So you might have specific issues with reconciliation. So you can go with segmentation that don't have cache or have cache. Only players, nice players that provide you with information through API or through other means, etc. And then win that segment and expand over as time goes by, right? Another thing that I would, of course, try to do is things like experimentation to see what actually work with clients, what doesn't work with clients. Is that something that you guys are doing?
Yes, totally. I think at the beginning like I mentioned, we have a lot of things. But then when we try to implement with the second user, at the second client, I kind of say, you know what? I don't need this, and that. I'm only gonna focus on this one. And then when we go to the third client, the same story, right? So we start like seeing a pattern. What is exactly what the clients need? What other thing that it might be useful for some clients, but not for the others? And then that's when we decide that then we have to like probably create a process instead of trying to do the whole thing in one single step. So in the platform we have something that we call the 4-step reconciliation process, and that is, I think, the key that is helping us to adapt to different situations, right? Because you mentioned before, one of the big problems for segmentation is the data, right? ERPs are different, bank statements are different, payment gateways also are different. The format that we are reading are different. Sometimes you are reading Excel, TXTs, JSON, more sophisticated formats, and it's difficult to consider all of them if you have everything together, right? So we have to split. So the first step in the process is, okay, first of all, I need to collect data. So we need to create a bunch of collectors from different formats, different technologies. So we have collectors that can extract data from the database, from the email, from the AWS, whatever you have the information, we have a collector to extract the data. And this is something that it's different. It depends of the industry. It depends of the operation to our customer, right?
So making things modular, that
Yes.
you have different modules that you can either plug and play in, and you're not relying just on one way of doing things, and then you can always add additional components to that module.
Exactly.
So getting data in, synthesizing the data, doing the actual reconciliation,
Yes, exactly.
doing reports. That's usually
That's
how
the
I would
first
think.
step. Exactly.
How I would
Yeah,
think about.
it makes more less complicated, like because you modularize the whole process. So you're gonna create the complexity for reading the data, but then once the data is in the system, you have only one way to the reconciliation. It doesn't matter if you are a financial institution or insurance company, a retailer, a restaurant, a hotel, university, all these kind of companies that we've been like understanding the problem with the huge amount of transaction as a part of the operation, they have to reconcile exactly in the same way. The problem is the data that they are feeding to those algorithms or processes. So that's what we're doing. Like we standardize information before starting actually doing the reconciliation, and that helps us to adapt the application to different industries.
There is another thing that come to mind, the way you describe in the different clients and what you find as you go to more and more clients, which is really how do you get to product market fit? And product market fit depends on how you segment your market, and based on that, also what is it that you find value that works the same across, and then you can really just sell the same thing. Traditionally, and maybe that's also how you started with engineering. When I was an engineer, we, even with the products that we developed that were sold off the shelf, they're not really off the shelf because there was always customization and options, and then each one of them became a bit different. Or we develop back before the days of the cloud, we developed different versions that have to be installed on site. And then we ended up with 10 different versions based on the client's need and stuff like that. So the cloud help with that. SaaS models help with that we're building one version for everyone. So there is no multiple versions. So that helps a bit, but there is still some tendency sometimes to create configuration where you say, this client use it or don't use it, use this and don't use it, and then it could become a mess with a lot of configurations and a lot of options. My always recommendation is also to find the clients that will be the same and reduce the numbers of configuration that you do over there.
Yes. It's like, I don't know, it depends on the software you're building, but if you have kind of templates or like specific, industries, then you can, because every, that industry shares the same thing, right? In our case, for example, when we are talking about reconciliation for retailers, we have a specific niche for that. We have a specific type of reconciliation for them. Different when we're talking with insurance companies, because here we are talking about policies. Here we're talking about products. So it's a different thing, right? So like you said, if we have like a kind of templates or pre-configured process, it helps a lot, because you don't need to have a lot of these buttons that you can turn on and off. It depends of the client, because you're gonna end up having like 1,000 different buttons, and you don't know which one you have to turn on and off, right? And then the combination it can create a problem in the operation of the product. Right?
But building templates is not always easy. You also have to have the infrastructure for that.
Exactly.
Is that something you already have in the product?
Yes, we have something that we call we create something that we call onboarding process. And in that onboarding process, the client can create their own configurations and they can have their own templates. So if you want to create a reconciliation that we already did in the past, they can access to that templates. So it will be not exactly the same way to reconcile, but at least you have something to start with instead of going from scratch, right?
I see.
Why? Because they are using, I don't know, the same bank accounts or the same ERP system, or they are selling the specific kind of products. So it depends on different things. You can use this kind of template. That's something that we use a lot. And just to add what you mentioned, the SaaS that is helping to have a more standardized product. I think the problem with SaaS in B2B, especially enterprises, is the integration with their internal systems, because you lose that, right? So what happens is, like with the bigger customer that we have today, it's a big problem, because they want us to get the data from the database or from the email or from the internal repositories. But if we have the system in the cloud, we need to have a lot of security and restrictions in order to access to their information. So that also is giving us another problem. So it's resolving something, which is, I don't need to have like 1,000 versions of my product in every single environment. But the other problem is, okay, if I need to do an integration with their internal systems, how we're gonna do that?
There is always pros and cons for that, and absolutely the cloud also offer the issue of security sometimes, and some companies have specific requirements that they need to have hosted on their private cloud, so it cannot be on a public cloud or hosted on premise. So
Exactly.
if you have that, especially banks and a lot of financial institutions will have
insurance companies because of regulation.
Exactly. So that's definitely make things a bit more complex.
Yes.
To you as well, because then you need to make sure that you support the version that they have on site and stuff like that. So
yes.
I've been there before with client server applications, and it was always a mess.
Yes.
No, that's great. Another thing about template is also that you can start creating a pool of template to share between clients.
Exactly.
So this is something that is done very successfully with many organizations, that they have created templates that are either best practices or someone just created a template that no one thought about before, and now you can share it with other clients if there is like some pool of templates or through you or something.
Yeah, it's like a knowledge base, right?
Exactly.
So you have somewhere where someone is learning something, they just put it there. This is something that we're planning to do in the future. We are planning to have something like a SmartConcil Academy. So where you're probably gonna be able to upload data, knowledge, whatever you were doing previously, and someone else can
reduce
use it,
even
right?
more the time of onboarding and getting things on speed.
Yeah, make it more easy for our customers to use the platform.
Great. So a lot of things there we discussed about what can be done, and I see already you doing some of them, and some of them I hope that some of the things we discuss here today will help even more in the future.
Okay.
For the last segment, I want to do something really quick. Again, something we didn't do in the past. And this is like rapid questions, 5 rapid questions. So I'm going to ask you very quickly and answer very quickly, whatever comes to mind. So the first one is biggest inspiration.
Well, music and family.
Okay. I love that. Core value.
Honesty.
Honesty. It has a lot to do with reconciliation, because you have to make sure they are honest with the data and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. To AI or not to AI?
Man, be or not to be.
That's the question I always ask myself. Like, what to use AI or not what to use AI?
Man, yeah, I think yes with restrictions.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, for sure. The problem, I think AI is helping us support ideas, support, I don't know, whatever. If I want to transfer my ideas in a better way, it's helping us, right? And now I see that it's helping us to create some code, validate some issues that we might have in the security side. I know that now you are creating music, right? You have a song and then you are like inspired. But I think at the same time it's simplifying the experience that you have as a person, right? For example, in the music, if you are like creating a music, it's because it's based on your own experience, and you like it because you share probably the same experience, right? It's something that you feel alike to that person who was like creating the song,
right?
But now the music is being created
By a machine.
by a machine,
Yeah.
and I don't know. And then the other thing is who owns the rights of the music? It's me, is the AI.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing of privacy, that's something that scares me, because I don't know, to be honest, where all this data is going. And I don't know if all this information that we are feeding to those algorithms is going to be used against us in the future.
Might be a need in the future to reconcile the data coming in and out of AI, just to make sure it's all safe.
Yeah. Or I don't know. I like this science fiction, and I remember Isaac Asimov created the 3 laws for robotics, right? It might be probably the same thing that applies with AI. It has to be some root,
absolutely.
something that it has to be done since the beginning, so no one can trespass that laws or that weights to the thing, because I think it's too risky to keep like feeding with the information with these kind of technologies, because they are learning,
right?
And I don't know what is going to happen in the future, right?
Okay, great. Proudest moment.
Well, when my kids born.
Oh, of course. Next goal.
Next goal. Well, in the company,
whichever one you want. You can do company, you can do personal, you can do both.
Okay, yeah. Well, for the company, I don't know, planning to sell the company in the next 5 years.
Okay.
So that might be goal. And second one, it's I want to be a music producer. So.
Oh, amazing. Yourself, not AI.
Exactly, myself, no AI. Yeah, I'm gonna fight it.
Thank you so much, Victor. This was amazing. I really enjoy our discussion. I hope you did as well.
Oh, thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed that.
My pleasure. This was Beyond Product, your podcast by Root Quotient at DMZ. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope to see you next time.